My name is Jeff Lord, aka Jeffrey Lord. I'm a contributing editor now for the American Spectator. When I was all of 24, got a job invitation to Washington, and I went there to work for Pennsylvania's U.S. Congressman Bud Schuster, and then over to the Senate for Pennsylvania's senior U.S. Senator John Hines as his executive assistant, and then into the White House to work for President Ronald Reagan. And after that, in the Bush 41 administration, I worked for Jack Kemp. Reagan and Kemp being, in a sense, ideological mentors, very much about capitalism and freedom and liberty, and very much willing to talk your ear off about the evils of socialism, which was a very good thing to be there for. I've written 3 books now, and I wrote a column in June of 2013 titled Never Ignore Donald Trump, to which all of my political friends thought, that's it. He's gone over the side. He's left the land of reality. But in point of fact, I was in the land of reality. And it's not because in 2013 everybody was talking about Donald Trump. What they were talking about was illegal immigration, problems with health care, on and on and on went the list. And as I got to know him, and eventually he called me, I got invited up to Trump Tower and spent all this time with him, et cetera. And I thought, he's saying these things over here, and I'm hearing these things over here from regular folks. And if they ever came together, you would get a pretty good-sized political explosion that might make him president, and that is more or less exactly what happened. When I see my friend Dale to get my suits and ties and shirts cleaned, I'm practicing capitalism. When I go to the grocery store, to the Giant, I'm practicing capitalism, and everything in there is a product of capitalism. So I see this all around me, and it's a very good reminder that this is what makes America, America, and it's what makes the world spin. And when you go off in another direction where you're not allowing people to have freedom and liberty, which is what eventually socialism becomes, it becomes an economy of shared misery instead of shared prosperity. I was very fortunate in life to have 2 bosses, President Reagan and Secretary Jack Kemp, both of whom were intensely involved in the struggle for free markets and capitalism. Capitalism is freedom, democracy, the ability to be recognized as an individual, and that you as an individual have the freedom to pursue whatever it is your talents may be. Socialism, on the other hand, is the reverse. It talks a good game about socialism, but the first thing they start to do is tell you what you can't do. But that's what socialism winds up doing. They're going to tell you how to run your life. And it never works. You don't care who's doing it. I always like Margaret Thatcher's explanation of this in British politics, because they had the same problem there. And she would talk about the socialist ratchet, by which she meant that in British politics, a Labour government would take over, and they would move government to the left. They'd expand it, they'd do all these things. Then they'd sort of run out of steam, and a conservative government would get elected. But the thing is, instead of going in the other direction, they would just manage it. Then they'd run out of steam, and the cycle would repeat. So that over time, the British Labour Party kept moving Britain left, and that was the problem. That was one of the reasons why Margaret Thatcher got elected, because she said, enough. And I must say, as somebody who was inspired by President Kennedy, the famous line, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country, inspired all sorts of people, myself included, to public service. And I think somewhere along the line, we've lost the idea that you should go and serve and leave and go back into your community and build your own business and employ people and do it yourself. So that when business people don't participate for whatever the reason, they wind up letting all these other folks have the field, and the next thing you know, you're getting these notices that this regulation and that regulation, et cetera, put in place by people who have no practical experience. This is a long-term struggle. This is going to go on. in the 2020, 24, 28, 32. This is going to go well on into elections for all of our lifetime. But, when President Reagan left office, he gave a farewell address in which he said that freedom is not found in the bloodstream, that every generation has to make the fight for freedom. One of the fuels of the political fuels of socialism is envy. Greed and envy, for that matter. Greed for power and the envy of people who have something that somebody else doesn't have. Well, you have to wonder why kids in a certain age bracket, 16 to 29, think socialism is a great thing, and they'd like to live in a socialist country. I mean, that comes because they're not taught history. They don't read history, read books like this. I would bet you that most of these kids have no idea who F.A. Hayek is, or von Mises is, or Milton Friedman is. Bernie Sanders was sort of pushed out by the Democratic establishment. Once he started praising Fidel Castro, the net political impact of that is the Cuban vote in Florida, all of whom, or a good many of whom, escaped with their lives from socialism. And the last thing they wanted to hear was the praise of socialism. And I understand you're young. We've all been young once. There's a lot of things in the world you don't know. So we have to teach it. I wish the school systems were doing a better job at it. And perhaps there's an area for the private sector to be more involved with.